So, picture this, a father on his deathbed. He's about to give one last sacred blessing, but then he makes a shocking choice, a choice that completely defies centuries of tradition and ends up reshaping the destiny of an entire people. This is, without a doubt, one of the most dramatic moments in the book of Genesis, and today we're going to unpack exactly what happened and why. All right, so the scene is just filled with this incredible sense of weight and importance. You have the ancient patriarch Jacob, who, you'll remember, is also called Israel. He's old, his health is failing, and he's about to do one of his last most important jobs, passing that sacred covenantal blessing on to the next generation. Now, you'd think this would be a pretty straightforward ceremony, right? But it turns into this moment of just profound tension. Because right here, in this final holy act, Jacob deliberately shatters one of the most deeply held traditions of his culture. And that leaves us with a big question. Why? Why would he do that?
Okay, so our story really kicks off when Joseph, Jacob's favorite son, gets the news that his father is gravely ill. He doesn't waste a second. He rushes straight to Jacob's bedside. But he's not alone. He brings his two sons with him.
So let's meet the main players in this little drama. First, of course, you've got Jacob, the patriarch. His life is nearing its end. Then there's Joseph, his beloved son, the one who became so powerful back in Egypt. And with Joseph are his two boys, Manasseh, who is the firstborn, and Ephraim, the younger one. Now remember that, the birth order, firstborn versus younger, that is absolutely the key to everything that's about to happen.
So when Joseph gets there, Jacob, he rallies. He gathers up what strength he has left, sits up in bed, and he reminds Joseph of the foundational promise, the big one, the divine covenant that their entire family's existence is built on, the one that guarantees them a future and a homeland. This is so much more than a dad talking to his son. This is a patriarch making sure the legacy is secure.
Okay, now to really get how wild the events of this day were, we have to talk about a concept called primogeniture. Basically, it means the firstborn son gets, well, pretty much everything. The leadership, the authority, the bigger chunk of the inheritance. This wasn't just, a nice idea. It was the bedrock of their entire social and religious world. It was the rule. Period.
So with all this weight of tradition and prophecy just hanging in the air, Jacob makes his first really stunning announcement. He's about to elevate his grandson's status in a way that literally nobody, especially not Joseph, could have ever seen coming.
Jacob just comes out and says it. He declares that Joseph's two sons, Ephraim and Manasseh, they're not just his grandkids anymore. He says, and this is the key phrase, are mine. He is legally adopting them. He's putting them on the exact same footing as his own firstborn sons, Reuben and Simeon. I mean, talk about a promotion. This is massive, both legally and spiritually.
And just like that, this one single act completely rewrites their destiny. Think about it. They go from just being Joseph's kids to being direct heirs of Jacob himself. And this isn't just symbolic. It means they're not going to be some small part of a future tribe of Joseph. No. Instead, each of these boys is now destined to become the head of his own full-fledged tribe of Israel.
Then we get this really tender, very human moment. Jacob, his eyesight almost completely gone, asks Joseph to bring the boys closer. And he just embraces and kisses these grandsons that he honestly never thought he'd live long enough to meet. He even tells Joseph, I never thought I'd even see your face again. And look, now God has let me see your children too. Okay, so after that really emotional reunion, the time comes for the main event, the formal blessing. And this is where we get to what's famously called the crossed hand blessing. Now Joseph, he's a guy who knows all about protocol and tradition, so he carefully gets his sons ready for the patriarch's blessing, placing them exactly where they're supposed to be according to custom.
And being the good son he is, Joseph does everything by the book. He knows the rules. The patriarch's right hand gives the greater blessing, and the left hand gives the lesser one. Simple. So he very carefully arranges his sons to make sure everything goes off without a hitch.
So imagine the scene. He places Manasseh, his firstborn, over by Jacob's right side, all set to receive that primary blessing. And Ephraim, the younger boy, goes to Jacob's left for the secondary one. It's all perfectly set up. A picture-perfect moment. Exactly what tradition demanded.
But then it happens. In what is the pivotal moment of this entire story, Jacob does something completely unthinkable. He deliberately crosses his arms. He reaches out his right hand, the hand of the greater blessing, and he lays it not on Manasseh, the firstborn, but on the head of Ephraim, the younger son. And boom, just like that, with one simple, very intentional move, Jacob completely flips tradition on its head. The younger son, Ephraim, is now under the right hand, about to get the greater blessing, and Manasseh, the firstborn, is stuck under the left. The established order, it's just been shattered.
Well, as you can imagine, Joseph sees this and is not happy. To him, this has to be a mistake, right? He sees his father's crossed arms and just assumes it's confusion from old age, from his failing eyesight. So he jumps in to try and fix what he thinks is a terrible error.
He actually grabs his father's hand, trying to physically lift it off Ephraim's head and move it over to Manasseh's. He pleads with them, saying, No, not like that, father. This one's the firstborn. Put your right hand on his head. You can feel the urgency. He's just trying to protect tradition and his son's rightful honor.
But Jacob refuses. He actually pushes back against Joseph's hand, and then he says the words that explain everything. I know, my son, I know. Chills, right? It wasn't a mistake at all. It was a deliberate prophetic choice. And then he lays out the prophecy. Manasseh, he says, will be great, but his younger brother Ephraim will be even greater, and his descendants will become a multitude of nations.
And this right here is the crucial point. It's not that one gets blessed and the other doesn't. Both boys will be blessed, both will become great, but Jacob's prophecy sets up a very clear hierarchy for their futures. He has seen something, a future, where the younger son's family line will eventually outshine the older brothers in both size and influence.
So, with the prophecy spoken, the choice is final. It's done. And this single decision, made on a deathbed, would end up creating a legacy that echoed for centuries and centuries throughout the entire history of Israel.
And with that blessing, the Bible tells us Jacob officially and permanently set Ephraim before Manasseh. A whole new order was established, one based not on who was born first, but on divine prophetic will.
So what's the big takeaway here? Let's kind of boil it down. First, this whole story is a powerful reminder of a theme we see over and over again, that divine will can totally override even our most sacred human traditions. Second, pretty simple. The younger son, Ephraim, was deliberately put first. Third, this one moment basically set the stage for the future power and prominence of the tribe of Ephraim. And finally, and maybe most importantly, Jacob's actions weren't a mistake or a sign of old age. They were a clear, deliberate act of prophecy.
And after all that drama, Jacob offers one final piece of reassurance to his son, Joseph. He tells him, look, I'm about to die, but God will be with you, and he will bring all of you back to the land of your fathers. It's a beautiful way to connect this really intense, personal family moment back to the bigger picture, the destiny of their entire people.
You know, when you think about it, Joseph had a perfect plan. It was logical, it was rooted in tradition, everything was in its right place. But his father saw something else, a different path, a hidden destiny. And it kind of leaves you with a thought, doesn't it? How often does a future that we can't possibly see end up overruling our own best-laid plans?